So it's no surprise that 2020 has not really been the best year for pretty much everyone. But looking onto 2021, we have some promising signs that this will be an interesting year. Just interesting. Keep in mind I'm factoring out the global pandemic, not because of YouTube skylines, but because I think everyone, myself included, has heard enough about the despair, depression and overwhelming sense of dread that we have suffered in the last 10 months. It's been 10 months. Wow. From this pandemic, so that's why I am not including it. Anyway, January 2021. To be honest, my expectations for this month were not very high to begin with, and I was okay with that. I consider January to be the forgettable younger brother of all months, where nothing really happens and you just try and get it over with quickly. But for some reason, this year, January decided to throw a curveball and catch pretty much everyone off guard. Now, knowing how the world works, how the rich usually have greater control over the poor, this came as a total surprise to me, and I think everyone will agree with me, especially people working in the business of hedge funds. Whatever happens now due to this one event will almost certainly result in massive ramifications and changes to how the stock market should and will work in the future. But the better question is, why did this happen now? To catch up any individuals that are living under a censorship coloured rock, a while ago some members of the Reddit community, Wall Street Bets, discovered that a large number of hedge funds were short selling GameStop stock. What is short selling, you ask? Well, why don't we go over to that dark alleyway and I'll tell you all about it. Now, short selling is the act of borrowing stock from a company and then sell it on the marketplace for the exact amount. If the price decreases, they could then buy back those shares and return them to the company, meaning they could net a nice amount of cash if it goes smoothly. However, it's a high risk, high reward system, because if the price went up, they would have to sell those shares back for a higher price, meaning they lose money. However, this was done on a massive scale with GameStop. GameStop stock, shit. GME stock, with more stock being borrowed than available at the time. Now, when Wall Street Bets discovered this, they hatched up a plan. It was simple. Start buying the stock. Pretty basic, ain't it? But here's the thing. The post resonated with a large amount of Redditors who were looking for an investment or for a way to piss on hedge funds, with some piling large sums of money into the stock. This in turn resulted in a short squeeze, as it led to an increase in the stock value to the highest it has ever been. This then started gaining traction, and quickly people started to notice, especially hedge funds, as they were now losing billions in a matter of hours. But unlike most people, these guys weren't going to take it lying down. No, they picked up their pitchforks, lit their torches, and complained. They complained so loudly that they actually made Wall Street Bets more popular. Just for example, this is Leon Cooperman, a hedge fund manager, a respectable businessman. Now, he wasn't really happy about this current situation, and he gave a deep and emotion-filled conversation that ended with him crying and stating, "I care," which made me feel kind of bad for the guy. I mean, he may have been hit pretty bad, he may be on the verge of bankruptcy. But then I found this. He was charged with insider trading in 2016 and settled for a measly $4.9 million. Just for reference, he is now worth $3.2 billion. Keep in mind, this was before the GameStop crash, so Leon, go fuck yourself. I hope you lost a lot of fucking money. In total, it is estimated that these hedge funds lost between $20 to $70 billion. One company, Melvin Capital, even had to be bailed out with $2.7 billion, which they received from another hedge fund company. At this point, major celebrities, news outlets, lawyers, and YouTube commentators started showing major support for the subreddit, calling it a David versus Goliath story. As you can tell, this most definitely frightened the living shit out of these companies. To make matters even worse was the fact that Redditors weren't selling their stocks, which meant the stock price would remain high and hedge funds would continue to lose even more money. This is where Robinhood comes in. You see, Robinhood was the main way for these Redditors to buy and sell their stock. But about a week after the squeeze, Robinhood did the best thing ever and disabled the ability for people to buy more game stock. This in turn led to massive backlash, obviously, including several class action lawsuits and a massive drop in App Store ratings, which were then deleted by Google, then added back, and then Google said we'll keep them on there. Robinhood has stated that this is due to a money issue. I think it's about loans or something, but I wasn't really bothered to look up that shit. Anyway, a few more things to mention. A few other companies actually got in on the massive increase, like Nokia, BlackBerry, and AMC stock also went up. But there was one company that came as a major surprise to me. Blockbuster Video. Its stock went up tenfold. Anyway, enough about that, let's move on to some other things that happened during January. Joe Biden was inaugurated, woo, and Trump was also kicked out, yes! Also, he brought back transgender soldiers, LGBTQ rights. My verdict? Pretty decent president. If you paid attention to Disney over January, or let alone the pandemic, you should know that a lot has changed for that company. This has mainly been attributed with the loss of profits due in part to several different problems, such as Disney World selling less tickets, the fact a large number of their big budget movies and deals had to be placed on hold. Just for reference, Black Widow was supposed to be released in May, and it has yet to reveal a concrete release date, and of course, reconfiguring the company to adhere to the lockdown rules. But to make up for this, they have released a massive update on future content. This was in December. With 10 new, no wait, make that 11, different Star Wars film and TV projects. I forgot about Boba Fett. Of course, along with the return of The Mandalorian. And that's not even covering the other Marvel projects and the Indiana Jones movie that's coming eventually. And speaking of Indiana Jones, it's getting a game. But even if I didn't expect that already, what I heard next shocked me in both a very exciting way and a very bad way. This is because the company behind the creation of this game is no other but Bethesda Software, which of course only has the cleanest of records in creating and making only the highest quality games in the industry, which I will demonstrate in this brief infomercial. On the subject of games, Disney opened a new division for Star Wars games, and finally gave the boot to EA, about time. And now we have an open world Star Wars game in development by Ubisoft, so overall, Disney, you're doing a pretty good job. Now let's talk about the bad stuff, and by stuff I mean some more Star Wars shit. And by shit I mean Kathleen Kennedy. If you've been living under a rock recently, then you will probably not be aware of the problems that have caused a large drop of interest in the Star Wars franchise. This can be credited to many things. Episode 8 and 9, to start. Along with the Force is female. Force diversity, represented by Finn and Rose. Changes to how previous characters perform. And a group of toxic writers and employees that have been shown to be horrible to the fan base, as well as jealous towards the other groups that actually makes good content, like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau in their work with The Mandalorian and The Clone Wars. Now, getting that rant out of the way, let's talk about the High Republic. The High Republic is a group of comic books and novels that began releasing from January 5th. To put it bluntly, all I need is one image to sum up the High Republic, and this is it. Now, I'm a big fan of Star Wars, always have been, always will be. And I know this universe is based on space wizardry and shit like that. What I'm trying to say is Jedi are supposed to be quite disciplined and capable of controlling their emotions and desires. Basically, what I'm saying is Jedi really shouldn't be fat. The same logic could be applied to that of a soldier. If they're fat, they risk bigger health problems and might pull the group they're in down with them. I know it's not a perfect example, but you should get the point at this stage. I'm not gonna say anything else except fire Kathleen Kennedy, please. Just give it to someone who actually cares about Star Wars. Like seriously, you have Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau over there. Give it to one of them, they fucking deserve it. And on that bright and cheery note, to put it simply, this has probably been the best month for anime since I got into anime. That's right, I'm a weeb. I like the animation experience, I do the Naruto.
Please don't hate me.
In this month alone, we got the final season of Attack on Titan, which is a pretty big deal on its own. But when you factor in the other returning animes and the new ones, it's hard to pick a favorite. So I've decided to bundle a few together that if you are getting into anime, I do think you should watch. First up is Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. Mushoku? Meshiki? Basically, this revolves around a jobless stay-at-home bastard who naturally gets hit by a truck. The anime fans have nicknamed Truck-kun. Look it up. It has killed a lot of protagonists. And then he is transported to a magical world. I mean the jobless guy, not the truck. Full of magic, swordsmanship, and European scenery that me as a European can enjoy. Also, it's probably the best looking anime of this year with some of the best visuals I have ever seen and an amazing studio behind it that was pretty much built up just for this anime to be made. Also, story is pretty damn good too. Number 2 is Horimoyo. Whatever. This is a really wholesome slice of life anime which I really enjoyed, and it's pretty easy to get into. The characters are quite likable, so yeah, go watch this. Third up is ReZero Season 2. Oh yes, finally one I can pronounce. Again, this is another isekai, but this one is different, mainly because the protagonist dies, like a lot. Death is pretty much the theme of the show. Oh yeah, and there's witches, plot, character development, or whatever. That doesn't really matter, just focus on the death. Go watch ReZero Season 2. It's pretty good. Redo of Healer.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
If you have heard about this anime, you, my friend, are a degenerate. Redo of Healer basically is summed up as a revenge porn fantasy adventure-esque hentai anime where the protagonist is a jackass who gets abused in his previous timeline and goes back in time to fuck the people who fucked him. The story revolves around some pretty fucked up things. The real fun of the anime revolves around the community. As all of you are well aware, there is a rabid cancel culture going on around the world where people and things are being cancelled, sometimes for absolutely no reason. The same could be said about anime cancel culture. Anime is made in Japan, so obviously there is a large cultural difference, which brings with it a number of things that foreign viewers may find problematic, especially when there is a dark or sexual theme in the show. This has happened several times before with animes such as Goblin Slayer, which in its pilot episode showed a rape scene. And a second example would be interspecies reviewers, because they were reviewing other species in a sexual way usually. Both of these shows were hit hard by censorship and cancel culture, with interspecies reviewers getting cancelled and Goblin Slayer being brought up in the Australian Parliament as an excuse to ban anime. Now, the thing I was most looking forward to about this anime was how the community would react, especially since this was a full-blown hentai. But for some reason, there was nothing. For some unknown reason, this anime got barely any attention by Twitter, Facebook, or anywhere. All the posts on Twitter were memes about how this show is going to be cancelled. I have to admit, I'm really unhappy with this community. I was so excited for the drama, and now all you've left me with is disappointment. And this brings me on to my last and best piece of anime genius that I have the luxury of sharing with you today. Now, behold the majesty of X-Arm. Some say only one thing in your life will represent a true masterpiece, and I think I found mine. The way the CGI blends with the background seamlessly. It's just majestic. The combat is just so fluent, like a piano recital.
Everybody in Uganda knows Kung Fu.
And if you look at the eyes, you will be mesmerized. The character models are so well made that I can guarantee there will be cosplay, and I do believe this anime will be remembered in the hearts of weebs everywhere for a long time to come. Oh, and it's made by Crunchyroll. Who thought this was a good idea? I'm really in disbelief here. And how did they manage to make a CGI anime worse than Netflix's Ghost in the Shell? Somehow, they did worse than this. Now this.
お前の機械嫌いにも困った。
The best part of all this is the fact this was the same stuff they put in the original trailer, meaning they were confident enough to put this out into the world. What are with these expressions? What's wrong with your eyes? Why don't they blink? These transitions! Why are they randomly striking poses? There are 2D and 3D characters in the same scene. Running! Why is there a terrible KKK ripoff? Whose idea was this? I'm fucking serious. 9 out of 10 for unintentional comedy appeal. Okay, and that brings me to the end of this section. Haha, you thought it was the end of the video. No, not very likely. I have to just include a few more things before I go. Some last notes include that I forgot to add in earlier. Alexei Navalny, the Russian opposition leader, was arrested and imprisoned for bullshit reasons. Brexit's going pretty badly, and the virus vaccine contract for Europe got screwed because of production or something. Okay, on that glorious note, I think I'll leave this video at that. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, maybe consider subscribing. Adios.